Welcome to this very special episode of No Dice, the podcast after the Dice with Death podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Bateman, and joining me to celebrate a whole year of the Dice with Death podcast is the clerical bird person with no canonical last name. It's Ark, aka Mr. Jamie Powis.
Oh man, it's been a year. Like,
a whole year, my friend.
people go to prison for less. Like, they really do.
Was this our sentence? Is this what the judge gave us?
Yeah.
We must have done something very wrong in a past life, I think.
We've done our time now, surely. A whole year?
I'm, of course, also joined by everyone's favourite mistress of magic, Zakaya Rubbledusk, a.k.a. Miss Amy Mallet.
Woo! Yup. A whole year. But a year, guys, a year. I remember, like yesterday, it was like we sat down and we were like, should we record this? It'll be a bit of a laugh, wouldn't it? I wonder if other people will find it as much of a laugh. And it's so nice that people have. You know, some people have actually really genuinely messaged and gone, I love this podcast so much and I'm having the time of my life listening to it. And that has just made it all worth it. Although we've had fun too. That's the thing. Everyone's had fun. Yes. Win-win situation.
It's genuinely so nice to hear because I think, Jamie, I'm skipping kind of over intros and stuff, but in total, was it like a year and a half in the making? Because we did like 6 months of like talking between ourselves and like convincing Amy and Adam to do it, which wasn't hard at all, but we did like a load of pre-records and stuff. But yeah, I think it's been like a year and 6 months in total of putting all of this stuff together.
Yeah, like I think like I built the website like a year ago. Today, so it's not actually a year when we're whatever. Let me re-record that and just say, I built the website like.
No, this is staying in. All of it's staying in.
Fine. I built the website like 6 months out, so I bought the name and everything. So I was that confident.
We were pretty set on this.
Yeah.
Set on it from the get-go.
It is an amazing name. Every time I say to anyone about the name, they're like, "Oh, that's clever. That's clever."
Yeah. And finally, I am also, of course, joined by the big beefy boy himself, Titus Thunderbastard Caligarvey, a.k.a. Mr. Adam Wilborn.
That is right. 2021 was not the year of the ox. It was the year of the Thunderbastard. I vowed when we started I was going to transform myself into the body of Titus. Still working on that bit. But do you remember the days when we were so organised we had like 5 episodes banked and then we're all so bloody popular we just burnt through them when we could actually go and see people?
That was a big thing we spoke about on last time's No Dice, wasn't it? I think we've got to have a big hand here for Mr. Jamie Powis because editing is seriously a lot of fucking work and he nails it every single time. And I think that's the biggest thing is that it starts off as a bit of fun, but...
Has she gone?
Yeah, she's just got, but she'll be that little nugget of like really nice stuff is going to be saved on a computer. But for us, she's completely gone.
Let me just give you this clean, Jamie. Yes, Amy, I agree 100% with what you've just said.
We've got timeline.
No, she's back.
Fucking hell, guys. Today is just not the day for technology, is it? Honestly. It's one of them just cursed days. This is Jamie because I dared to go, I've just got to finish at 11. Is that all right? And he's like, fucking, I'll get on the blower to Tempo and I'll tell him to fuck you up.
Yeah. Tempo's the god of Wi-Fi, isn't he?
So, he is, that's his side hustle. He's weather most of the time, but then he does dabble in tech.
Where does Wi-Fi come from? The sky, obviously. Yeah.
I think it was because Adobe was actually updating, so I'm just checking that I'm still recording. Yeah, the fun bit is you've got my whole spiel and then you've got me going, oh, you guys are frozen. And then the silence while I go, oh no, I've frozen. Anyway, sorry, derailing, carry on.
The funny thing is on my screen, like next to your names on the Zoom, you've got those bars and I've never seen them go red and then with like a warning sign come up next to it. I thought you were like, because I can only see Adam now because of his laugh, and then if Jamie talks, I can see him. But because you just stopped, I thought you were getting emotional about like it being a whole year. I thought you were really taken aback by like all the work that we've put into this, and you were just like, no, she's just gone.
There was some stress, there was some emotion in there, but it was it's not sadness. Let me tell you, it was throw this laptop out the window.
Right. Well, I guess we best start this episode, and we're going to celebrate 1 year of this podcast by looking back over our favourite moments from the show. We've also got some lovely voice messages from listeners, people who actually listen to the show, who have stuck with us since day one. So we're going to be going to them in a bit. We're going to go over to Comment Corner with Jamie Powis.
Oh.
But I first thought we'd start with Amy and her favourite moments. So here's where we go over to Amy Mallet for Mallet's moments. Amy, what is your
Mallet's moments? We won't be able to license that track, everyone. We won't be able to do it.
Mallet's
Moments. Can I get a bomb?
Boom, boom, boom. Amy, what is your first favourite moment from the last year of the podcast?
I aimed to write down 3 yesterday, and I've ended up writing down like 7, just because I wasn't sure what you guys were going to talk about. But I would say I've kind of divided them a little bit into like a serious one, a kind of hilarious one, and then one that I just thought was like absolutely totally fucking epic. And my sort of favourite moment really of all time is actually Ark and Zach's confrontation that they have in the rain in episode 6, Shot in the Dark. And it is just like the hairs on the back of my neck and my arms, everything. Like, I don't want to admit to where I have hair on my body, but it was all just like going up in total crescendo, because it was one of those moments where the drama really overtook us. And I speak for Jamie here, but I was like, I genuinely forgot where I was. I forgot I was really playing a character. I was just so invested in like where this was going to go. And it's the moment where they realize, really, they kind of confront the fact that, you know, Ark's actions actually did, technically, I mean, not his actions directly, but he was involved in the death of Zach's whole family. And then Zach asks about, is it Corporal Aves? Admiral Aves?
Yeah.
And how she's kind of says, like, you need to tell me where he is because I need to get my revenge. And I love that Jamie's like, revenge isn't everything. And there's this whole very Last of Us level drama where it's like, oh, fuck, where's this going to go? Is this friendship and this relationship going to survive this? And then the rain came down. Holy shit. Like, Tempo himself was just adding a little sprinkling of dram. So, yeah, that probably was my favourite moment in the series so far.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. I thought it was it's really good to be a part of, and I think it was really nice that we can start these kind of overarching arcs happening. And I don't mean arc as in AA.
The overarching arc.
But I mean, that's really nice. I think from the episode where we kind of learn that the arc, and I say arc was the cause. Arc wasn't the cause. But,
not at all. Not at all.
But the Aarakocrans, kind of what they did. I really, really enjoyed that episode as well, because I think we mentioned it at the time that we knew our backstories, but we didn't know how our backstories connected with each other.
Exactly. All we'd done is we'd given Ollie the fuel. We kind of said like, okay, here's mine, here's Titus's, here's Ark's, do what you will. And that was just like, I was part of something so much bigger than me. That really got me. The fact that they interlinked so cleverly.
From my perspective, it's just been really interesting because, like, I think when I first got involved in D&D, before we even started this podcast, you're just sort of there to be like, oh, I want to stab things and like chuck stuff at people and blah, 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 and see people do magic spells and what happens then, and describe in great detail how I murder people. But I think this podcast and then those moments between the two of you throughout what we've done so far have really opened my eyes into sort of the other side of things. Because it's like... Right, because it's just so interesting when it comes to, like you say, the interactions between the two of them. I mean, I felt like Titus is always sort of trying to play peacemaker. He's sort of a big sister, sort of a big brother.
Oh, is he now?
Yeah,
is she?
Sort of a big brother to Zach, and then to Ark. You know, I'd like to think anyway, a sort of mutual respect between the two. And I also like the bit where I'd just be sitting there and I'd put my feet up for 20 minutes when we were recording the podcast because you two are having this really emotional moment, and I'm like, right, how can I break the tension here? And I usually would just opt for in a big moment where you're like discovering about how you potentially murdered each other's family members.
It's a classic Titus yawn to interject in any deep and meaningful conversation. Just you listening to those two talking in the forest, laying under a tree covered in smeggy leaves, and turning over and rustling and going, oh, well, I think it's about time I'm going to be hitting the hay now. So yeah, Amy, great moment. What is your second mallet moment from the last year?
Mallet moment.
Du-du-du-du.
So my second mallet moment was, and this was just a moment that I think mechanically, as a part of the game, I was suddenly aware of, I guess not even the limitations, but the lack of limitations, and like how effectively dice with death. I mean, we always say like where anyone could die, the roll of a dice, but it's so true how the storyline and everything about your power, your abilities is beholden to randomness, beholden to just the universe. Like a good roll will be a good roll. And that moment for me was when I went for a wee.
Yes!
All the way back in episode 1, right? And I cast Thunderwave as Sakaya and I did my bit and I went, Ollie had to roll basically for like 30 guards on this boat that were going to take my Thunderwave.
Insane.
And I just went for a slash. I was like, oh God, I'm not going to sit here and listen to roll. I'm just going to go for a waz because, all that excitement. And when I came back, I genuinely thought that the boys were trolling me when they said every single one of them failed. And that was like, just in terms of where the story went, Zach had this huge outburst like Pikachu and just fried 30 guards, 30 men on this boat. And it was like, holy shit. And that was when I was so aware of like my power being influenced by just like the beauty of this game, which is there is no law. It is all entirely decided on the roll of a dice. Yeah. And that made me, I absolutely adored that. I thought that was so cool.
It was quite the first episode, wasn't it? Because I know
it was,
when we first started recording, you guys were, I mean, we hadn't really done proper roleplay D&D before. We'd done, the one-shots where you get to slice people in half and make them look like a wallet, or, just blow people up and kill people. But this is real roleplay stakes. So you guys all getting into the prison and finding your feet about how you talk to each other. Like, I think in terms of like your journey from like that first episode to now, I think you guys are just, you're all sat ready to roleplay at any point, even if it's a yawn, even if it's just a shit pun, even if it's a wow moment. Like, I just think you guys have come so far, and it just shows. Like, in research for this episode, I have gone back and listened to every single episode that we've done over the last year. A lot of hours. I mean, Jamie, you said it the other day. I can't remember how many hours it is, like 40 something hours just listening to it. But the progress that you guys have made just from working as a team, from working as a party, to also just like feeling free to roleplay anything at any moment. It's so great to see, and I love coming to the table to hear you guys interact with each other.
It was literally that moment was the first thing I wrote down when I sat down to write down my favourite moments, and I was like, it's definitely going to be mentioned, so I'll write more than 3. But yeah, first thing, Zach electrocuting everyone in all caps, because like you say, I distinctly remember this. I was sat in my living room, and we're all sort of, all, like you say, the beginnings of everything. And I'm just watching Ollie with Jamie, and I are locking eyes over the call, going, fail. And it's like, oh my God. And then, like you say, Ames, thinking she's never going to believe us, but we've got just tell it, the excitement of being able to say to you, just when this goes out, go back and listen to what's just happened. You will not
that was
believe
the best bit for me. Because I had to re-listen to it, and obviously I was like, I need to know if this was all an elaborate joke. And it obviously wasn't.
It was also like the first time when we've been doing the others, it's very sort of like binary. Like when we do it before, just like the fun games we'd play prior to setting up the podcast, it'd be very much like Jamie would be like, right, you're fighting this one big beast, and they've clearly got, you know, a lot of hit points, and, you know, you'll be slowly all wearing them down, not wiping out an entire army with one spell. Especially didn't that come off the back of her being like, check this out, and then just getting like Squiddy just like engulfing her face or something.
Yeah, so Squiddy appears in the ship,
yeah.
and Amy like Zakaya wants to do an athletic check to jump over this tentacle, and you just got stuck in the suckers, and then we're like, oh no, this is terrible, what's going on?
Because I remember it was like, that was my Sean Connery moment, wasn't it? Because I bit my own cheek, and I was like, Titus, help. Yeah, it was hilarious. I ballsed it up so badly. Like, I remember not only the whole Squiddy tentacle thing, but also the fact that I tried to do a stealth roll as a effectively very stealthy character, and just absolutely cocked that up as well. So everything had gone, sort of catastrophically in the other direction until I finally arrived.
But then you pull it back and you cast Speak with Animals, and Squiddy was born.
Squiddy was born. Yes. Oh my god, I didn't think about that.
Squiddy was born because you went, I'm going to talk to this thing, and I'm going to cast this spell, which is so all about what druids are. So Zakaya was essentially the birth of me having to name a fucking octopus.
Not a squid.
Not a squid.
His parents were very cruel, weren't they? Bless him.
Amy, could you tell us your final mallet moment from the last year of Dice with Death, please?
Oh my god, with a whole year of campaign to choose from, I found this bit really hard. But there were two contenders for the funniest moment, and I mean a moment where I was basically wetting myself at my desk. Didn't even think to go for a wee then. I was like, nope, too late, it's happening. There were two to choose from. One of them was quite early on, and then I realised that actually not only are a lot of my moments from early on episodes, but also I reckon somebody else will definitely have this moment. If not, it'll be a bonus for the end.
Yeah.
But I loved episode 20, Rupert in the Snow with Boulders, for the feature of the Beatles joining the team on the amateur snowballing lads who helped us out.
Yeah.
Because it was just something, again, a little bit like Squiddy, where it's like, oh, Ollie's got to think first, this could be hilarious. Like, the fact that you name them all, like you had the something ooh and Barney McGrew.
Oh yeah, it was the cast of Trumpton. Hugh,
that was it.
Barney
yes.
McGrew, Cuthbert Dibble, Grubb.
Yeah,
and I was just
that
like,
was it.
Shit, how many are left? 4.
Four.
What a famous 4. The famous 4, the Beatles.
So funny. And the fact that like all the puns just kept happening. I mean, even the title itself, Rupert in the Snow with Boulders, is a pun. I mean, obviously if you haven't listened to that episode, I don't know what you're doing here, but that is such a amazing episode for like humor, just bouncing it back every now and again. The Yellow Submarine chant that they do when they're like, ooh. Honestly, I couldn't stop. I was absolutely wetting myself during that episode. Fantastic.
I think that's some of the best parts of this show as well. Like, even when you guys are in a serious battle, a serious moment, you guys always manage to find the humor in things, and you play this great game of being able to take things seriously when they need to be. You know, when you find out something about somebody's backstory, or the story moves forward, or I don't know, something incredible happens, you always find a way to roleplay your characters how they would play it, but also in a very, and I think this is so representative of like British performative D&D players, always make a joke about it, always come back to that awkward like, right, let's move on from this, like Titus punching Ark on the arm, like when he's had a nice chat with him, it's like, right, come on, stiff upper lip, let's get on with things.
It's that kind of like The Office humor, isn't it, where it sort of rides that wave between being really bittersweet and then absolutely hysterical in the same situation. And I think that is something that is very much a kind of a tentpole of British humour, is that we're all quite uncomfortable getting emotion, so we kind of have to bring it back quite quickly to something funny.
Talking about getting emotional, because I know I'm going to forget to mention it. I still remember finishing the podcast, walking into the bedroom where Anne-Louise was, and saying, "My uncle's died." And saying, my dad's dead. And they're being like, what? And I was like, oh, in D&D, my dad just died.
Oh my God.
Did you really do that? You walked into the other room and the first thing you said is, my dad's dead.
I think she knew it wasn't that. I hope she realised it was D&D related, because it was a fairly sort of blasé way of telling her that. But yeah.
And then you were like, and he had a necrotic scar? I mean, I wasn't sure what that was about.
And he was being paraded almost naked on an anvil through the streets. Like, oh, this isn't Mr. Wellborn. This is, right, I get it.
How they do it in Chesterfield, isn't it? That's what they do.
Ironically,
a tradition as old as time.
My dad's nickname is Fearless Shot. So, there we go. Ironically.
There we go. Well, I think that's about it for Mallet's moments. Thank you so much, Amy, for your favourite moments from the last year. I'm sure there are lots of honourable mentions, but we can mention them at the end of the episode as well.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see if my second funny one gets pulled, because I hope to God it does. And I'm so here for it.
We're now going to cut over to Comment Corner with Jamie Powis, who I believe has a message from one of our listeners. We asked you a couple of weeks ago to send in voice notes from yourselves who listen to the podcast, because we want to hear what you think about it and what you've enjoyed from the last year. So, Jamie, take it away. Who's up first?
Right, so we have to start with the first person to comment. It's only fair. So, Oliver, thank you so much for commenting. Oliver, he kind of likes a character that we all hate.
Oh no.
He does not like the person we're all thinking of, right? No.
He's you'll certainly hear it in the message. But Oliver has I don't think it's necessarily the character, it's more so the situation that this character is and the interactions that he's had on social media with us. So let's hear from Oliver.
I'd say my favourite moment was Lakeland and the chess set. Small little moment, probably not as big, definitely not as big as Squiddy or the ski lodge, but it led to the brief but always fun interactions I have with you guys on social media about Titus becoming a chess champion. Can't see it happening, to be honest, but who knows? Maybe in the future we'll see what happens. He can surprise us. If he's a master of skies, he could be a master of chess. But yeah, that's probably my favorite moment.
That's so... Okay, first of all, Oliver's accent. Oh my God, it's to die for. Oh my God,
Don't worry, Amy.
That all day.
Don't worry, Amy. We're all wet over here. It's fine.
Oliver, can you be like a recurring character, please?
Yeah, I might get Oliver to start doing the previously on Dice with Death at the start of every episode.
And then you'll ask me, you'll be like, so what happened? And I'll be like, oh, I don't know. I was miles away, sorry.
I was lost in his voice.
But yeah, Titus, that's a really interesting thing. We have spoke with Oliver quite a lot on socials. And yeah, like Titus being a chess champion. What are we thinking? Possibility in the future?
I think anything's possible with Titus. I still, again, one of those moments I'll probably forget to mention if I don't mention it now. I still love the moment where I was just like, it'd be funny if he puts a leaf over himself and pretends like you can disguise someone who's, 7.5 foot tall or whatever. And he pulled it off. So I was like,
yeah,
I'm not going to say he's not. I think by the numbers, let's say, it's not looking good. But also that just sort of loops into something I was going to mention in passing as well, which is, when you play D&D, normally it's like you have a relationship with the players that you're playing with, and you have a nemesis, a character you have to fight, kill, defeat, whatever you want to say. I've never had it before where, he's important to it, but effectively non-essential characters I've been so divided upon. Like, on the one hand, you've got Lakeland Zager, who I despise every moment I'm with him, and anything he says, I'm like, I was watching a Curb Your Enthusiasm the other day, and Larry David just turns to this guy and goes, "When will you die?" Like that. Right, and then on the other hand, you've got Eric and Smorgenhausen, who I would give my life for, and just sack off my entire quest just for this kooky little guy we've met in the mountains.
I mean, it's hard not to love Erican. I mean, when I introduce characters to you guys, it's really hard to get you to like any character anyway. But if there's a particular voice that is funny or resonates with you in some kind of quirky way, you are far more likely to find them appealing. And Eric and Schmorgenhausen is just a perfect example of me doing a silly voice, but you guys reacting to it so well and letting me run with it. Like, I'm sure someone's going to mention it, but the tickle fight in the mountains with Eric and Schmorgenhausen, like, have you ever heard a tickle fight happen on a mountain in a D&D campaign or any kind of or any fantasy fiction or not? Like, it just doesn't happen. So yeah.
Whilst another character is dying in the background, bleeding out.
Yes.
Not that I'm sour.
Well, Oliver, thank you so much for your message.
You,
we look forward to chatting with you again on Twitter very soon about future episodes. But we're going to cut over now, away from Comment Corner, and we're going to head over to Wilborn's Wanderings for Adam Wilborn's favourite moments of the last year. Adam, I know you've spoken about some of your favourite moments anyway, but what's your first one?
Well, Amy's done very well and sort of divided hers into nice little categories. I've just gone for all the hits. So I assume this is what Amy was alluding to earlier. It's got 3 words in it. Say it with me, everyone. Release the shark!
Yay! I'm so glad someone else has it. It honestly was probably the moment I've never laughed harder in my life. I don't think.
It's one of those moments where you realise, well, you don't realise at the time, and then you realise listening back how long you've taken to do one thing. And I still feel like I have to give an explanation for what happened there, because how can I put this nicely? Ollie Bateman is a sneaky bastard, okay? So, all I'm thinking is, A, I don't want to disappoint my D&D daddy, and that is Jamie Powis, because, well, let's be honest, over the past year I have let him down on numerous occasions. We'll get to that, right? But also, I don't want to do something so stupid that not only you guys, but everyone listening's like, why the fuck did you do that? So I'm thinking like, right, well, we've got this fucking angler shark, or whatever it fucking is, right? And we've got to get rid of him, but I don't want to draw attention to us because we're still trying to sneak in. What do I do? I don't know what to do. And it takes 20 minutes or however long it bloody took to do one basic
45
thing.
Honestly,
Yes,
45
I realised
minutes.
I'd been generous there.
It was 45 minutes on record, and I think Jamie managed to cut it down to like 25 to 30 minutes, but it's literally half an hour of you guys trying to decide, saying release the shark, but not releasing anything.
Honest to God, I think it's probably like, even talking about it sets me off, because when you listen to it back, you can hear Ollie just slowly losing his mind. And like, every time he talks, the patience is wearing more and more thin. And I think that's part of the hilarity of that whole bit for me, listening to it back, is that Ollie is like, he's done with it. He's so over it. And we're so just done. Like, oh, how about we release it just slowly, you know, as a real distraction.
I think that's one thing Titus has learned. He's become a lot less gun shy in subsequent episodes. Like recently, when I was just like, "Time's up, let's do this." That's more of my mindset now. I'm like, well, bollocks to it. See what happens, because we can't have a repeat of bloody release the shark.
Because Titus was asleep, wasn't he? And I remember Ark saying, like, I'm going to get down to his ear and just whisper, release the shark.
With no context.
Adam wakes up like, oh, fucking hell, we're here. What are we going to do now?
Jamie is an experienced D&D player. Talk me through that for you.
My memories of it are very happy actually on the record. It's the edit that, oh my God, it was literally the worst edit I've had to deal with, because like Ollie said, like I actually think it was 40 minutes out of the episode I had to take.
Oh my days.
Because it was just like, because we usually record for like 2 hours and then we kind of edit that down into about an hour and 45 usually. But oh my God, that episode! I think that episode's still like 2 hours and 15 minutes, or 2 hours 20 minutes.
It's a long old boy. It's a long boy. It's yeah. I mean, this is so early on in our like recording of a D&D campaign, like the first time we've ever done this, ever sat down and got together, bearing in mind that with the first episode, you guys at the end of the first episode were only just getting off the ship.
Yeah.
In that first episode, I'd planned for you guys to already be at the facility. So in my mind, and bearing in mind that's like 4 episodes later, I'm wrestling in my mind going, oh my God, I've not put the right kind of pace on this. I've not planned this properly. But I think since we've been doing it all, you know, regularly every other 2 weeks or whatever, I've learned to just sit back and live in the moment. Because I think that episode 4, as frustrating as it was for me to be like, right, what are you guys fucking doing? And I was like, it was frustrating to me because I was like, I don't think I've planned this out right for you guys, so I need to give you a solution to get this done. That was the frustration that was in my mind. It was like, well, I know you guys can't decide what's going to happen, or you're not sure about this and you wanted to release it in the bay, but you weren't in the bay anymore. You're in this underground lair. And Squiddy just, although I regret using Squiddy as against you guys, really, to like let the shark or release the shark into the fucking bay or whatever we were in that secret
Squiddy
facility.
was a symbol of your frustration.
He really was. He really, and even now I'm getting frustrated talking about it. But I think since that moment, I've learned to just like sit back and go, no. This is their game. Let them be in the moment and let them do what they want to do. Even if they're pissing about for 45 minutes, it's okay because you can inject some mind shadow into their nightmare later and get them back for it.
Exactly.
That's like my revenge, I guess.
And also as well, I mean, although it was 45 minutes of us debating how to release a shark corpse from the end of the harpoon, it's the kind of shit that you can't write. Do you know what I mean? Like it was when I listened to it back, it's so funny because it's like that bit in Arrested Development. It's a very Arrested Development moment, actually, where, like, you know, when they're all clapping, speech, but, like, nobody has any intention of delivering a speech.
Yes.
It was exactly like that. Like, we were all just like, release the shark, and nobody had a fucking clue on how they would actually do it. And that's what I think made it so brilliant, was that it was just like, yes, grand plans of mice and men that have just been foiled by 3 idiots. No, you really couldn't write it. It's genius.
Adam, what is your second Wellborn's Wanderings from the last year? What is your second favourite moment from the podcast?
Well, it's sort of 2 in 1, basically. It's both times that I've used my wrestling in an offensive manner. So you've got wrestling the jackals in the cave, which was great, which was, you know, putting on a show and distracting people for that. But I think I have to go back to when I was fighting the bodyguard, I think it was, who was in the exoskeleton in the ring.
Yes.
And Ark, clueless bloody Ark, comes to get involved. Because, you know, I think the whole thing about D&D is whether you're relative novices like me and Amy, or have played it a lot more like yourself and Jamie, the best thing to do is to bring something you know to the table. So granted, you may not know exactly how to play your character straight off the bat, but if you work stuff in that you know, whether it be into the personality or, like I said, into the sort of offense, then you're probably going to be on pretty steady ground. And yeah, just reeling off, considering I talk about these on a daily basis, wrestling moves to fight a man who's in this arcane energy powered exoskeleton in a ring, and then trying to I mean, it's like every Christmas trying to put across wrestling to someone who doesn't really know or care about it. To be like, Jamie, you're up, and Ark's like, I'm going to try and pin him. I was like, yeah, I get it, that's good, that's a wrestling maneuver, but we're trying to fight this guy, aren't we? And then we hit the doomsday device, and it was just spectacular, that whole thing.
It was just brilliant. Just getting Ark to pin somebody in a non-official wrestling match in the secret facility, just it's as funny as Release the Shark to me. It's brilliant. Yeah. Like even previously, Jamie, I don't know how you felt about it, but like before, when you tried to Captain America the shield into the side of the wrestling ring and it just didn't stick.
Also, wasn't there a guy there who like wandered in like,
Golf clap guy. Golf clap guy. Yeah.
There was. Yes. Yes.
You knocked both of these guards out with a bulldog. Starting your
I
wrestling
remember.
stuff off early within the episode. And then I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's give you guys an audience. Golf clap guy gets up. Yes. Oh, I like this sport. This is great. Yeah. Just, along with the audience who don't listen to wrestling, who feel Ark's pain, like walking up to a ring and going, what the fuck am I doing? What's going on? Just so brilliant.
It is like I said, it is chatting to any relative of mine about my job and then being like, wrestling? That's like Hulk Hogan, right? And I was like, well, it was 30 odd years ago, whatever it was. Not quite so much nowadays. But also, let's not forget, that wasn't the only major battle going on at the time. There was me and Ark in the wrestling ring with the bodyguard and the exoskeleton. And Zach was fighting a box, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I was, underneath a wooden box, a wooden crate that I couldn't move. And again, that's a classic example of like the best laid plans. I tried to Solid Snake that shit and it did not end well. But at least when I finally made it out of the box, I witnessed a fucking amazing wrestling match and was there cheering along with Clap Guy. I just remember it being like such a lovely tender moment between like surrogate father and son as well in that way. That was what I really liked about that, was that Ark was clueless, but he gave it a go. For Titus, really.
It was brilliant. Having Ark jump off the turnbuckle, talons out. Was it the electric chair or the doomsday device or whatever it was, Adam?
Yeah,
I can't
something
remember.
like that, yeah.
Something like that. But just the visual of that for me, because I know wrestling, like I think in terms of who is clued up on wrestling here, it goes Adam, then it's me, then, that's kind of it. But like to see and imagine a clerical bird person in a tunic, wings aloft, and this 7.5 feet tall, 300-pound grey balding wrestler just having a go at this personal bodyguard was great. And it was really good. It was really good wrapping up that fight that you had earlier, like down in the basement with the cheese-covered military guard, like finishing that guy off once and for all. It was poetic.
And that was another moment following that when we were jumping out, where I just, don't take this the wrong way, I just don't trust you as a DM. When you're like, right, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I'm feeling fairly certain I'm meant to jump, but like I've had my fingers burnt on so many other occasions where we'd be playing it. And to be fair, I think Jamie was the DM on these, where we'd like, someone would give us something and none of us would think to say, oh, I picked that up and put it in my pocket. And then we'd be like, okay, we move on. And you're like, cool, you didn't want to pick up all that stuff? So like when we were jumping out, I was like, is there anything else we need to do here before we leap out into potential death before Squiddy catches us?
Oh, I see. Yes. So you're stood on the end of the cliff. In this ventilation shaft, you roll that intelligence saving throw to hear these voices in your head that say jump from Zalu. You grab, but I remember being in the moment being like the explosions happened. There's nothing that you can do. This like the fire is like coming up behind you in slow motion. You have to. I listened to it the other day and I was like, Adam, I'm going to need a decision from you now. And you were like, and you just go, well, I jump. And then there's the super comical bit, which I love from Jamie, where he's like, "Are you gonna grab us? You gonna jump with us? Are you gonna take us with you?" And you're like, "Yeah, obviously, yeah." I was just deciding whether to backflip or not. It's just
that gentle tutorialized prodding that doesn't derail the story.
Yes,
I think it's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So actually, that was one of my moments as well, and I really like that moment. And it's kind of the editing, so like the other side of things. So. I really like, because again, this is me like just feeling the edit really and thinking, actually this is quite, I've done this really, really well. So it's probably one of my favourite moments.
Oh,
and, like,
wicked.
The pianos kick in, I'm like, that's really cool. And the stuff like so when Ollie says his favourite phrase, which is time slows down. And I love when he says that. Okay, so it's going to happen now.
You know that there's going to be like a musical motif change or something. I'm like, that. Well, so what are my favourite things to say? Time slows down.
Like a ballerina made of wind.
Like a ballerina made of wind. So when anything fades away, something always dissipates. It doesn't just like dissolve or anything. I always say dissipates.
Oh, you don't. We could do the Ollie Bateman drinking game for guys with dads.
Just
Let's
play
that
bingo.
Thing.
Play bingo with every episode, and you'll be absolutely fucking smashed.
What was the snow thing you said?
Snow
dust.
dust.
Snow dust.
Snow
That's
powder.
it.
Snow
Yeah,
dust.
yeah, it's snow dust.
Snow
yes,
dust.
because it is powder, isn't it?
It is,
Technically.
it is powder. And yeah, as someone who's actually been skiing and snowboarding once or twice in their life, I should know this, and was absolutely razzed on the WhatsApp group by Jamie, being like, it's powder,
It's
right?
powder, right? and with that, and with the, I think it's Ballerina Made of Wind is actually the episode title when they get pushed off the
Yeah.
base. Like little stuff like in the edit. Like I went to the beach with my daughter, I think a couple of weeks before we did that episode, and when like Ollie goes, when time slows down, you hear like the sound of the waves, and that's actually the waves from the first time that me and Delphine went to the beach.
God, that's a bit of Faye. That's so cool.
So I just thought that's a really nice little thing. So I really enjoyed that one. So that's on my list. So sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, absolutely,
no,
absolutely.
I didn't. But hey, that's a little tidbit that I didn't know. That's really cool.
It's great. Like little Delphine's first trip to the beach ended up in an episode with all the waves.
It's been
great.
it's been immortalised in a campaign.
Yeah.
How amazing is that? That's giving me such good feels.
That's wicked.
Adam, what is your final Wilborn's Wanderings from the last year? What's your final favourite moment?
Well, I don't want to use up all of Jamie, so I'm going to talk about this, but specifically from my perspective, because it's a slightly more serious one than the fun ones that we've done. But I'm sure that Jamie's probably going to mention the bit where his character died.
Yes.
I actually don't.
Okay.
It's on one of my honourable mentions, actually, is
Yeah.
Ark's death. Yep.
I felt I had to put it on my list. I can't help but feel slightly responsible for it, if I'm honest.
I wonder why. That is, Adam.
And let's not forget, I've almost killed before. Didn't I do attempt to do
medicine check
CPR
on me, yeah.
Zach, and you were like, cool. So if you fail this, you do know she dies, right? And I'm like, huh? What's this?
What? What did you say? Yeah, there's stakes within this game, guys. You know that. It's called Dice with Death. We can't have people not dying. And I remember when we first started doing the campaign, it's called Dice of Death, but I was so afraid of people dying and so afraid of like characters actually going through hurt and actually losing HP and then like, oh God, you've got to roll another character or something like that. But Ark's death, the first death within the campaign, that made me feel so much more confident than actually, story-wise, we can take it where we need to. We can roll another character if we want. We can role play with the Gatekeeper, one of my favourite characters that I've ever done.
One of the best characters in the campaign.
But
one of the best.
There are so many places that we can take it, and we shouldn't be afraid within Dungeons and Dragons as a whole, whether you play at home, whether you play with friends online, whether you're doing a podcast campaign like us, narratively, death is going to happen and you should embrace it, because it's the death scenes, it's the death save rolls, it's the role play before and after that really make this podcast and other campaigns what they are. Like, death is so part of this game. Embrace it.
Yeah. And also as well, it means that for us as players, we're not assuming there's a safety net, because sometimes I think, and this is, my only real knowledge of this is the thing that is my lifeblood, which is video games. And you don't want to feel as though, like, if it's like, oh, you can't really die, you just, you sort of, you'll respawn, you'll go back to the beginning, or maybe like, you'll just like invisible walls on levels where it's like, oh, you can't actually fall over the ledge there, that's not going to happen. That takes a bit of stress away, that I think adds something really nice when we feel like, no, we can actually die. Ollie's not just gonna like make sure that everything happens in a nice little fairy tale wrapped up with a bow way. It will be catastrophic if we mess this up. So
yeah, and chances are he'll drop his favourite catchphrase, my least favourite catchphrase, and that's where we'll end our session today, where I've gone through the Zoom call about 3 times. Like, don't you fucking do that to me.
Ollie R.R. Martin doing his worst.
Yeah, I love a cliffhanger. I like a gunshot at the end of things. I like to make it dramatic. Wouldn't be me if
What have we had? So we've had someone about to drop, I'm fairly certain someone about to drop a scythe on Zach when she's failed already like 2 death rolls or whatever it was.
Yep. We've had Zach actually shot in the dark.
Yeah, someone just getting shot right at the end of the episode. Just like, we're like, oh, we're having fun in this wood or whatever it was. And it's like, oh, shot rings out and you look down and you bleed it. It's like, where the fuck's this come from?
And also Madame Morgana in the cupboard when we're all hiding and you get that gunshot and then it's like, and that's where we'll end our session. Oh, screw you, Bateman.
That's me. I'm a sneaky little motherfucker.
To bring it back, just to wrap this up before we go to Jamie's favourite bits, the death of Ark, I got so caught up in the fight, I'll admit that I may have made, let's just say, a clerical error, okay?
Yeah.
And we'll move on.
Nice.
I was going to say good pun.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, no dice with a wow in it. Great.
There you go. But I don't want to speak for Amy, but that was the most terrifying part of the entire thing that we've done, because, and I think it's okay to admit this, oftentimes when Ollie, suggests what do you do next, there's quite a long gap. I don't know how much comes across in the edit. It's quite a long gap with me and Amy effectively staring at Jamie on the Zoom call going, cool, what do we need to do here? And then we didn't have that anymore. Then we were just fumbling around in the dark without not only our sort of father figure, but our knowledgeable D&D player who, fair play to him. I mean, I don't know if Ida could have been this good when he was about to die and when he was subsequently dead. Didn't say a bloody word to help us, and it was that's when you really have to focus up and rely on each other to get through the campaign, because we've lost the guy who knows where to go. Yeah,
Jamie played the meta there really well. You don't metagame in those moments. You don't go, and you guys have all subsequently learnt it. Like in certain situations within, the last couple of episodes that we've done, Ark has fallen in water, and then Jamie's turned around and spoken to you both, and Adam's literally turned around and gone, "You're underwater. I can't hear you. Shut up."
Exactly that. And I couldn't cast spells underwater. I learnt the hard way. It's a vocal spell. It's an incantation. You can't do it. I think that Adam's absolutely right. That moment when we realised that our stabilizers had come off and Ark wasn't going to be in the background, in the immortal words of Mama Roo, was when we had to step our pussy up.
Yeah.
And I think we really did.
Yeah.
That was the moment.
Yeah, I think with that coupled with you guys going into the Iliad mines and planting the bombs, like that's a real learning moment for you guys, because those mines, it was completely up to you how you tackled it. I literally gave you the entrance of a mine, what was going on in it, and you guys had to strategize. And I think that's been the building of your party as like a stronger unit from that episode onwards. I think you guys might forget to ask Eric and Schmorgenhausen for health potions before you leave. You might forget to pick something up. But I think you guys in any situation now, you're so much more tactical than you used to be. And it's great to see because you play it within your characters and carry on role-playing true to your characters. So it's great. We're going to go back over now to Comment Corner with Jamie Powers. Jamie, I think we should probably do like a couple here. Here's some hear 2 messages from some lovely viewers, some lovely listeners. So who have we got first?
Right. First up is Sammy, and basically she wants to release the shark.
Does she? Well, it sucks to be you, Sammy, because we don't know. We have no idea. If that wasn't clear enough, Sammy, we'd love to help, but we're very unqualified to release the shark.
One of my favourite parts of the Dice with Death podcast has to absolutely be the Release the Shark episode. It was pure chaos and it made me giggle so much. Also, a big shout out to Squiddy. I love Squiddy, and he was the absolute hero of that episode. It's got some amazing puns, thrilling stories, and lots of fun. So thanks for a great listen and making 2021 just that little bit happier. Much love.
Oh, much love to you, Sammy.
Yeah, huge shout out and love to you. First of all, for loving Squiddy. I mean, Squiddy is OG. Squiddy is first episode. So if you don't love...
Squiddy is Bay, not was Bay.
Okay, yeah, if that's what you guys want to think, that's absolutely fine. I I love teasing you with that because you guys really don't know the answer if Squiddy is alive or not. So,
well, you messed us up with the squid ink in that episode when we went to the petrol station, and I was like, oh no.
I'm so glad you caught that detail because I was like, yeah, that incident happened 3 days ago on the coast. So there's bound to be this wash of like squid ink, and people are going to be profiting off of it. That's just how deep I look into the economy of the world that you guys are living in. That's just how switched on I am. But yeah,
we'll keep the dream of Squiddy alive for you, Sammy. Don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep going.
We all will. Jamie, have you got another message from us from another listener?
Yeah, this one's about you, Amy.
Okay.
This is from Gavin.
Absolutely. The best moment of the podcast so far for me would have to be Zakaya escaping death at the absolute last minute. Had me jumping up and down in the living room like Celtic just scored a 90th minute winner in the Champions League. It was amazing. Also, I just want to say congratulations on the pod going as long as it has. I've been listening since the very first episode, and I love all you guys.
Thank you, Gavin.
Amazing. Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Gavin.
Yeah, it was a real, I mean, that was genuinely, that could have gone any way. And yeah, actually I had so many, it was really lovely. It felt like I was Zach was a real character and a real human being, because there were so many comments on Twitter where people were just like, well done, I'm so glad you're alive, well done. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I genuinely have escaped death.
But yeah, thank you, Gavin, for your message. The end of episode 17 into episode 18. Zakaya is prone on the floor of this hotel suite in a nightmare with mind shadows. The mind shadow had advantage on hitting you. You're at one failed death save. A melee attack against someone who is prone and unconscious immediately fails 2 death save. So, Zakaya, you were literally 1 hit away from death. And we don't know what death for you has in store.
No.
Like we've seen what Ark has gone through. He managed to go to the gatekeeper, but any one of you, that doesn't mean that you'll all get a chance to see the gatekeeper. So
yeah,
it's such a wondrous moment, like when you're in that and being like, oh my God, a character might actually die here. And you just don't know what the future holds for them. No,
it was really, really brutal. And I mean, as much as I would love to meet the gatekeeper because they are one of my favorite characters, it's just, you never know. And it was very tense on that Zoom call.
I do love that though. I do love it when I end an episode and like, people listening to this, you obviously don't get to see the Zoom call, but like the heads in hands. I love it, like Adam especially, when I go, and that's where we end our session, and he just like launches back, hands up in the air, like, fuck you, Bateman, fuck you.
The wheels on Adam's wheelie chair must have taken a real beating over the last year, because you always recoil.
Anne-Louise knows the universal sign that the podcast is finished is, no, you can't do that.
Well, thank you for your messages so far. I think we're going to jump over to...
Thank you so much.
A powwow with Powys, where we're going to find out his favourite moments from the last year of Dice with Death. Jamie, hit us with your first moment. What have you got?
So the whole episode of 2 Birds and 1 Goliath, which is the fight pit episode where we start out with Lintu, we form up a plan, we execute the plan perfectly, things go wrong, but we sort that shit out straight away. Amy's beaten by a door. Just a great episode. Really enjoyed doing that one. And a proper well planned out D&D kind of campaign and D&D kind of.
You guys did so well with that. Like even the wild shape of Zakaya going in and seeing Elman Monroe and like opening a door and all that stuff. But your coordinated assault on this mine. I said it earlier in the episode, but it's the first time that you guys actually had to properly strategize.
Yeah.
And that just gave me so much more confidence that I can throw pretty much anything at you. And you guys, you might turn to Jamie and go, Daddy Ark, what do we do?
Yeah.
But there's definitely a resolve for all of you to know how to get through situations or plan accordingly. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Jamie. Just that whole episode, brilliant tactics from all of you.
It was amazing. And it was kind of a redemption from Release the Shark in a way, because obviously we actually carried out the plan that there were small deviations, but it was proper Ocean's 11 shit, wasn't it? Like, we made that plan work for us.
Yeah.
And nothing feels better than, like, everything, walking away from an explosion at the end, like Mr. T. Like, yeah, I do love it when a plan comes together, and it really did.
Yeah, walking away from the explosion and leveling up as well just before you saw or you met Lakeland Zager. So you go from one extreme to ruin it. Yeah, absolutely ruin it.
There was a bit of a down at the end there.
Anytime I give you a player to help, I just think they're going to hate this fucker. Jamie, what is your second favourite moment from the last year of Dice with Death?
So the ceremony was when we kind of said goodbye to Madame Madonna, and for me, because we didn't really have a conversation about it, did we? It was very much.
No.
It was very much. I saw the spell that I've got called ceremony, which I could perform a funeral. I just thought, you know what? Let's perform a funeral. Let's do that, and really change kind of like how the episode had been going, because they've all been very kind of full on before that, loads of action, a bit of mutilation, a bit of death, and that sort of thing. So I thought, oh, let's try this out, and it just worked really, really well, and everyone did like an incredible job really with kind of dealing with that improv. Amy's bit was really beautiful, and you find out more about her character as well, kind of like her demons, and Adam and his French GCSE French was amazing.
Yeah,
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Ceremony, great use of ceremony for that moment and role play from all of you. But that's also the episode where you guys got filthy fucking rich.
Yeah, we were loaded. We were absolutely balling.
All I do is win, no matter
what.
Yeah, because my rhyme the following week was DJ Khaled, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
it was.
The thing about the dirty chicken shop and Titus's box.
Yeah,
Don't
that
look
was
in
it.
Titus's box, everyone.
That was it. That's I know. I realise that I haven't gone through my moments, but actually putting a dick in a box is that's quite something. I don't think I've ever heard that in any other campaign. So no, that definitely sticks out. But the ceremony was beautiful. It was, of course, the episode where you met Lakeland Zager, and Ark, you and him had cigars on top of the submarine while Zakaya and Titus went and partied with the village folk who'd been freed.
We got loose.
It was you all got loose, but it was really lovely and wonderful because of the role play that you did during it. Like it was one of those episodes where it was like, right, this big thing has happened. Now we need a reset. Now we need to see what's going on. Although we don't like Lakeland Zager right now, he is here for a reason, and he is here to get us somewhere. So we best go with him.
Yeah.
Jamie, your third and final favorite moment, with some honorable mentions at the end, of course, of the last year.
So these are two NPCs that just didn't get enough light of the day, I think. So Jance Yapple from the Release the Shark episode.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify? It's Jance Mapple, but even funnier
sorry.
that you got it wrong.
Titus did it wrong like 3 times in a row. And it's just so meta.
I just want to clarify, it is wrong, but it's even funnier because that's what they'll be known for now, is any other variation of Manspan Clapple.
That was really fun. Like, I really loved that improv from Adam there. But it was really, really good, really in character. Really, really funny, really enjoyed it. And we killed them, absolutely obliterated them.
Yeah.
They would have died in the whole explosion going up, wouldn't they? Facility. Yeah. I mean, RIP. I didn't give them a second thought, but maybe we really should. It'd be fun to do. We should do like a little funny infographic for the socials. We should do like the death toll, the count of people that we've killed. Just like a little infographic of who's killed the most.
The innocent people who have died.
What's the body count for our adventure so far?
It's like Dice with Death wrapped for the year, like Spotify.
Yes.
You killed this many characters.
I might have to go back and make notes of that, but I do think the kill count is I think it's in favor of Zakaya just because of that first spell.
Just that first
episode.
Yeah.
I think you are all getting like close together because Zakaya, I think you have killed a few people since then, but you got so many all at once that you were immediately in the lead. So we'll have to go back and do some stats on that in future.
That would be fun to do stats, yeah. Even like, I think Spotify Wrapped is actually a really nice way to do it. Ads, you could do like Lake Gonzaga insults. you insulted Lake Gonzaga this many times. Places visited, you know, battles been in, stuff like that. That'd be really fun. It's a lot of work, but it's like the sort of thing we could do towards the end of the year, maybe.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
I think that'd be fun.
We'll do an awards show next time as well. Shout out to Dwayne and James Winchester on Twitter, actually, who are having a little back and forth about us doing some kind of award show, and I wish I'd thought about it before this, but we'll do that towards the end of 2022, you know, to wrap up the second year of Dice with Death.
Love
but,
that.
You know, we can have stuff in there like best wow moments and things like that. So we'll absolutely look at doing that going forward. Jamie, I'd like to come back over to you now for Comment Corner. Have we got another message from somebody?
Yeah, you mentioned Dwayne, and here he is talking about our snowboarding adventure.
My favourite part's got to be a mixture between the snowboarding competition, because that fight was just absolutely amazing. And then you got the mines, you planting the bombs and getting the villagers out, and it was just brilliant sort of thing. And the only other thing I can think of is the most shocking part for me has got to be Ark's death. I was not expecting that at all, and it just came out of nowhere. And I'd have been exactly the same. I wouldn't have thought about giving the health potion or anything, so I don't blame them. So keep all the great work, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Thank you so much for your message, Dwayne. We talk a lot on Twitter. Adam, I think he's reinforced you forgetting about a potion.
Look, all I'm saying is that Amy literally bought me a health potion candle for Christmas to remind me for future episodes. So I hopefully won't forget in future. But like Dwayne says, it's easily forgotten. We've all been there. Well, neither of you two have, because you're responsible. But, you know, me and Dwayne have been there, basically.
Yeah.
I share the burden. I should really have reminded you. I think the best bit was when Ark was watching us on the TV and he was zooming in hands. Is that a health potion in Titus's pocket?
But Dwayne brought up a very good point, which is something that I really liked mechanically, combat mechanically, about the snowboarding race, the downhill snowboarding race. Like getting you guys to roll those D6s for natural disasters.
I love that.
Because honestly, that fight would have been so easy if there wasn't natural disasters. So rolling that stuff was great. But it also gives me one of my favourite moments and one of my favourite Nat 20s of the whole campaign. Because if it hadn't have happened, I think you guys would have all died on that mountain. And it was Ark and Zakaiya. So Gunderson Hemingworth Smythe throws a grenade towards Ark and Zakaiya. Zakaiya, you go down unconscious. Ark goes down unconscious. And then Jamie rolls a nat 20 to come back up with 1 HP. Because it was literally just Titus on this mountain fighting 2 other people. So Jamie, if you hadn't rolled that nat 20, I genuinely think all of you guys might be dead. And we might be rolling new characters.
Yeah. 1 HP, like literally just popped back up right there. Yeah, that was insane.
It was one of those. We've had a few of those moments actually where. Do you remember in I think it was episode 23 or 24? Titus, Adam, I got you to roll a nat 20 to become unparalyzed and said you'd have a full round of combat, and you just did when you were underwater pulling the drain off, and I was just like, cool, it's not going to happen, get a nat 20, you're going to be fine again. And then also going back to you're hungover, roll a nat 20, you have a snack and you're going to be fine. Like all of those nat 20s within the campaign, just brilliant.
Yeah. There was one I remember as well, actually. I very nearly add this to my moments, but there was one, kind of as an honourable mention, but there was, I did a nat 20 and fired an arrow that cut the cable of the lift in the facility. And I was like, oh my God, that's cool. But like little things like that would never. And also similarly, situations where we've gone really badly for a nat 1, you know? Like, you often wonder to yourself, like, if they'd been reversed, how different would the story be?
I don't know why I'm so obsessed with attempting to show you through my grainy picture that I have rolled a nat 20. I'm so astonished every time it happens that I'm like, well, they're just going to call bullshit if I don't show them.
More nat 20s going forward, please, for this whole campaign.
Nat 2022, as Adam wisely said.
Baby.
Nat 2022. I think we're going to go back over to Comment Corner with Jamie Powis. Jamie, I think we've got one last message. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, we're saving. Oh, I say we're saving the best for last. I think they've all been brilliant. So I've just
all amazing. Thanks so much, guys. Send them in.
Yes, thank you for everybody for sending your messages in. But the last one comes from
Tara, and she loves Eric and Smorgenhausen.
Between the mystery of the missing arm and Squiddy, I'm definitely spoilt for choice when it comes to best moments, but my absolute favourite has to be Erican and Titus in the snow. I love Erican. I would die for him. I would love that teeny tiny bell.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, Tara. Yeah. I mean, if we ever do merch in the future, when this is kind of grown to where its full potential will be, hopefully, let's make I Would Die for Eric and Schmorgenhausen t-shirt, because I would so buy it.
with a teeny tiny bell just on the chest pocket. Just a little pocket with a
teeny bell.
Teeny tiny bell poking out the chest pocket. But Tara mentioned some great things there. The mystery of the missing arm, which is honestly one of my favorite interactions that recurs between Titus and Zakaya about.
And only you know, Ollie, of all the party. Only you know. So.
I'm very lucky to know that detail. We planned that way back when you made your character within your backstory. And I love that Adam just comes back to it with Titus. You know, it's not every episode, but it's like every now and then. It's like, oh yeah, how did you lose your arm? And even now in like current episodes with you going, right, well, that one's ticked off the list, so it can't be that one. What else can I ask her? How did she lose her arm? You know, it's a great mystery.
Titus is playing a long game of sort of Cluedo, where he's like, right, you're going to rule out that weapon, rule out that way to lose an arm. Yeah, it's often when, like, if Ark shapeshifts or... My favourite is when she's potentially about to die, and I'm like, well, before that happens... we probably should know how you lost that arm, right? Or when he thinks he's being a little bit sneaky and coy, and he's like, he tries to drop it in, oh yeah, and just one final thing. How did you lose the arm again?
Yeah. When he asked me when I was a dog, and I was like, I told you.
I think we're coming to the end of this episode soon. I would just like to ask all of you any honourable mentions of favourite moments from the last year of Dice with Death. Any that come to mind that we haven't mentioned so far.
So many of mine have been covered. I mean, the big three that I didn't, the three that I chose, obviously I've said earlier, but the three that I didn't were Release the Shark, Ark's Death, and The Ceremony, which obviously have all been covered through you guys. But one other tiny thing that I think has actually been mentioned a little bit by Jamie when we were talking about The Ceremony, but Adam's misunderstanding or Titus's misunderstanding of Madame Morgana being French is just so it was just absolute chef's kiss, genius joke that did not get old. But the more, like, when we went to the library and he was like, la bibliothèque, like, it's so funny, like, because she constantly just like reminded us that it was all an act, and he just didn't get it, and it was that really, like, that whole reoccurring gag was amazing.
One other honourable mention I'd like to call out is what was the box that Zach threw, or
I remember I didn't close the lid.
There was a few. There's been a few of them. There was
the wish stone
one on the
box.
ship. There was one on the ship, and then there was the wish stone. Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, because that was Flapgate.
That was another. Was that another 20?
Flapgate. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, it was. You got something like a 19 or a nat 20. It might have even been a nat 20 to catch it, but you're like a wide receiver in baseball, or like, you know, just perfect cricket skills. Bringing this ball into your, this box with this wish stone into your chest with the lid open. Flapgate. You guys just always forget to close things, so I'm going to make a point about it every single fucking time. Because it makes me laugh and die inside so much.
I like the fact that the wish stone thing came in and around the same episode where I castrated a man and then tricked someone into opening a box that had his meat and two veg in, pretending it was the wish stone. Like, oh yeah, just checking there. Psych.
Jamie, any honourable mentions from you?
I really like the Vine episode where we just talk about vines for a good 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all those
Oh my
vines always made me
God.
laugh.
So funny, yeah, and it's also such a niche level of humor as well. But if you're in that inner circle, like if you get it, it must have been a real joy to listen to.
We're really good at alienating our audience, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, vines are eternal. You just have
Yeah.
to be of a certain age, really. It's not even like geolocation or anything, is it? It's not really a regional thing. It's just were you of a certain age at this
Yes.
point?
Were you of a certain age and on the internet? And I think an honourable mention for me is Jamie explaining what Vine is if you're under 30 and then saying you still won't know what it is even if you are over 30. So, yeah, honourable mention for me. But no, before we end the episode, I haven't written anything out particularly just to end the episode, but I want to thank everybody over the last year who has given this podcast a chance. Whether you listen from home, whether you listen to it all in one go like a crazy 2-hour-long maniac, or whether you listen to it in chunks and fuck our stats up on Anchor, thanks. But no, seriously, like anybody who has ever given us a chance and listened to this podcast, thank you so much. We love doing this podcast and we want to continue with the adventures of Ark, Sakaya and Titus. And a big thank you to my players, Jamie, Amy and Adam, for coming to the table every single week and putting on this collaborative story project that we're doing. Because honestly, without you guys interjecting and being your characters, we wouldn't have the world that we have with the characters that you embody. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you,
thank
mate,
you for everyone
for
who
all
sent
the
in a
hard work.
message. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for everyone who's commented. It's so lovely to hear people talking about it and really surreal as well.
There's actually people out there who listen. They have real voices and real names and they actually sound like, for the most part, well put together people.
Human beings.
Thank you to Ollie for all the work he puts in setting up for an
thank you,
episode,
Ollie.
and Ollie and Jamie for all their work they put in editing the episode.
Yes,
Jamie,
a
especially,
huge
obviously.
shout out to Jamie.
Probably the biggest thank you to
Huge
Jamie.
shout out to
Yeah.
Jamie, who has a wife and a child and has a much more enriched life than any of us do, but finds the time to sit down and put this whole thing together. So emotional thank yous to all of you for just being part of this project that we started all that year ago. I think it's time we wrap up the episode. I think we did all right there, didn't we? I think we've covered everything, covered all the bases.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Done some reminisced about some great times over the last year. If you are listening to this and you want to see more, please go to Dice Death Pod on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. We put various bits of social media up every now and then, so check us out on there. And more importantly, come and talk to us on Twitter. We're always on Twitter and we want to hear from you, just like we heard from Dwayne, Gavin, Oliver, Sammy, Tara. We want to hear from more of you on Twitter about what you like, about what you don't like, about what you're enjoying about the show. So please, Dice Death Pod on all the social medias, get at us. If you're listening to us, well done. I mean, you probably subscribe to us, but leave us a 5-star review. And I know we hammer this home every single time, but it really does help out if you leave us a 5-star review. Pushes us up those charts, those non-existent charts of podcasting.
I've said before, roll a d20 and whatever number it hits, unless it's below 5, put that as the star rating.
And you can do it on Spotify now. So Spotify
Yeah.
lets you do 5-star ratings. So if you're listening on Spotify, I know we know that most of you are on Spotify.
We know.
Please
Spotify
give
is
us. We
big.
know.
We see the stats. So, leave us a 5-star review. Jamie, if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
Jamu1987 on Twitter.
Amy, if people want to come and find you on social media and talk to you about Sakaya, where can they find you?
It's Amy_Mallet, 2 L's, 2 T's, big T's, on Twitter.
And Adam, where can people find you on the social medias?
You can find me across social media at Adam Wilborn.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of No Dice. We will return to a brand new episode of Dice with Death. Another episode for 2022. I'm excited. Everybody else is excited to play and get back into this campaign. Thank you so much for listening, guys. we'll see you next week. Say bye, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.